Hey everyone, it's Matthew here from the NOLA Nerdcast live at San Diego Comic-Con 50th anniversary with one of the most prolific and amazing writers in comics in this or any generation, Ed Brubaker. How are you today?
Hey, good. Tired.
Yeah, I mean it's Saturday, you've been one of the few people signing every day.
Yeah. I've done a couple events every day. It seems like so. But we had the book come out, and the book takes place at Comic-Con, so I felt like I needed to be a big presence here this year.
It's thematically appropriate.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of, the book is a Bad Weekend, and what can you just tell people that are unaware about it?
Bad Weekend is a crime story that takes place at Comic-Con in the late 90s during the last time it felt like comics was about to stop existing, and it's sort of the life story of a fictional famous cartoonist at the end of his career coming to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award and just going through his sort of dark history in comics and how he's been ripped off by everyone he's ever worked for.
It's so good, though.
Oh, thanks.
And I mean, you and your artist pal, Sean Phillips,
Yeah.
probably the most, I guess I'll just use the word dynamic duo. Every time you guys partner up on something, it's just gold. How did that?
Yeah, well, we never stop. Like, we just go from project to project. It's not like we do one and then decide if we're going to do, like, I just immediately start writing the next thing and just, he's drawing it. Like, I just tell him this is what the next thing is. So
How did that?
we just consistently put out books for, like, the last, like, 17 years or something.
It's felt like, since I've been reading comics, you guys have been a duo. How did that partnership even, like, begin?
I was a fan of his work, and he liked my indie stuff. And when I first got hired at Wildstorm to do a project, they wanted me to do a spin-off project out of that, and that's when I came up with the idea for Sleeper. And Sean was drawing Wildcats at that point, and so they knew that was wrapping up. And Scott Dunbier just said, "What do you think about Sean?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." We had done a one-shot thing at DC called Gotham Noir together. That was like a Elseworlds one-shot. It was one of the last ones they ever did, and I just loved working with him. And so, I don't know, a few issues into Sleeper, I just thought, okay, I'm just going to keep doing comics with this guy. And after we were done with Sleeper, I just pitched him Criminal, and us owning it all ourselves, and all that. And so ever since then, we've just kind of gone from project to project to project, and basically it's like a lifetime pact. Whoever dies first will get to stop working.
That's awesome. Now, speaking of Criminal, though, that's actually made a comeback.
Yeah.
What was your thought process like? What was the reason you decided to bring that series back after such a long hiatus?
Well, we always have done Criminal like one shots or something in between other projects, and I just felt like, I don't know. When I was working on our graphic novel, My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies, which is also connected to Criminal, I just realized it had been like 4 or 5 years since I'd really spent any time in that world, and I just was really inspired to go back and sort of tell some of these stories that I had been building up to since like even the very first issue of Criminal, like 15 years ago. So like in the first issue of Criminal, in the first Criminal story, Coward, you find out that there was a guy named Teague Lawless who got killed a long time ago, and it's a mystery. It's like a big deal about who killed him. But then when in the third storyline, I actually introduced Teague Lawless as a character, and he became everyone's favorite character in the book. And they all knew that he got killed in the summer of 1988. So I finally decided to go back and tell the story of the summer of 1988 and how all that happened. So,
Spoiler.
yeah, spoiler. But it tells you in the first chapter he was dead by the end of the summer. So, I just wanted to do something. I like monthly comics, I like single issue comics, and I want to make sure that we keep that art form alive. And so I thought, well, I can do Criminal, and we can do like 1-issue stories or 2-issue stories or a really long story. We can do anything within that form. It's so elastic. And then we can figure out how we're going to collect it later.
Yeah.
Like Bad Weekend. I had no idea when I was doing the story that became the Bad Weekend hardback that came out this week how we were even going to put it out. Like, I didn't know if it would be part of like a collection of short stories or what it would be. And then Eric Stevenson, my publisher, read the 2 issues and called me up, and he's like, "I think we need to put this out as its own book." And then I was like, "Oh, good, I can expand it." And and then I got yelled at by people who bought the single issues for ripping them off.
I mean, I bought the single issues. but I'm also here, so I feel like I
Yeah,
won.
exactly. You won. You got everything.
Well, for those that don't know, I mean, were huge at DC with like Gotham Central and Batman. You were huge.
Catwoman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You had like just a ton of books, and then in Marvel, your Captain America, like you were the reason Winter Soldier is as awesome as it is.
Yeah, I did Captain America for 8 years.
And it was so good. But
was
it's
fun.
your work at Image that has really just kind of like blown you up. How does it feel to be like part of that research? Because Image in the past decade has just skyrocketed.
Well, yeah, it's interesting to be at this time in Image because Image was founded as an artist-driven company, and I feel like now it's much more of a writer-driven company since Kirkman took over. I mean, I'm here because of Kirkman, and Eric Stevenson basically, made me an offer to come over to Image, and we could do whatever we wanted, and they would support it. I was really thrilled about my Daredevil run. I loved writing Captain America. Like, those were my favorite characters as a kid. Iron Fist, like me and Fraction brought Iron Fist back and made him like a character people cared about. Like David Aja is like amazing artist to work with. Like I had, Gotham Central, Catwoman, Darwin Cook. Like I had all these great experiences. But I always just wanted to get to a point where everything I did was just something that was an original thing.
That's awesome.
And, I felt like I did enough of that stuff that I couldn't write superhero comics anymore because every superhero story, the third act is everyone puts on costumes and goes and punches each other, and whoever's the good guy wins, and that's just not life.
Right.
I like to write stories where the good guys lose,
or
the good guys win, but winning makes them kind of hate themselves.
That's awesome. You're like the king of noir.
Oh, thanks. Well, I was raised with that stuff. Like my uncle was a famous screenwriter back in the 40s, so he wrote Murder My Sweet and Crossfire and On the Beach and just a ton of movies, The Wild One with Marlon Brando. So I was raised by my dad always showing me all this stuff. And then when I was a teenager, I just started reading all sorts of noir and pulp novels and stuff like Jim Thompson and Raymond Chandler. And so I feel like I kind of was like, brought up in that. And also when I was a teenager, I was like a drug addict and a criminal, so I really kind of understand that desperation that people have. Oh yeah, no, I'm very lucky that I am alive today and that I didn't end up going to prison. So it's pretty awesome that I ended up being able to use it all as research, which is what I told the police when they arrested me. This is just research, officer.
Well, I know you're busy, so my last question will just be like one of the coolest things about your books, especially with Sean Phillips, is the supplementary material in the back.
Yeah.
The stories and the biographies and everything. Like, is that all you, or do you collaborate, or where do you get the ideas for that?
Well, right now for Criminal this time, other than like we did a recent issue where I did like a roundtable discussion with some crime writer friends, most of the back pages stuff in Criminal outside of the letters page, which I write and sort of tease stuff coming up or talk about things that I like. The articles that Sean illustrates are all written by Kim Morgan, who's actually writing Guillermo del Toro's next movie that's about to start filming, which is a noir movie, which is called Nightmare Alley. It's an adaptation of an old book that was adapted back in the 40s. So she's been doing stuff for us since Kill or Be Killed, and I've never even met her in person. She emailed one day telling me she was a fan, and I asked her if she'd write stuff then. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that works out. And when she can't do it, then I just reach out to other people or I write stuff myself. I just like the idea of making the monthly magazine version of it something that's totally worth getting, even if you're planning to get the trade or the hardback later. Like
100%.
I want people to feel like they're part of some kind of a cool experience that we're putting out for them. I try to do that with everything I do, even my newsletter. I try to make it something that's worth whatever the 5 minutes it takes you to read it, because I just don't want to be one of those guys that just assumes everyone's going to like the minimal amount of effort. So I put in the maximal amount of effort and hope that no one complains.
Well, it shows. So we always end on a question, and I need your truthful answer from the cuff.
Okay.
In your heart of hearts, what wins, cake or pie?
Pie.
This is
I'm a pie person.
Yes.
We had this argument in the Westworld writers' room, and there were only 3 of us who chose pie. On the Too Old to Die Young writers' room, I was the only pie person. I make my wife make me birthday pie.
I knew there was a reason
lemon
I loved
meringue.
you.
A lemon meringue is because also cake is so heavy.
Exactly.
I'm too old for cake. I passed my Murtaugh years.
Thank you so much, Ed. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I hope
You're going to lose me readers with this pie thing.
No,
a
are
lot
you
of people are
kidding?
going to be so furious that I prefer pie. I've seen these people in person.
Oh no.
Yeah, cake people are crazy.
They are, but that's why pie people are better. That's just a fact. Thank you so much. Enjoy
This
the
is
rest
why
of your
America's
Comic-Con.
being torn apart.
Cake versus pie. I just threw you. I'm sorry I got political for a second. I'm so sorry. We try to keep it light, but I brought us dark. Oh,
Damn
man.
it.
I hope you forgive me.
That's okay. Thanks,
you.
man. Thanks a lot.